So it all started 2019 when my son was born, June 14th of 2019. And I don't know about anybody else, but when you have a child and you bring a child into the world, you hope for greatness. You hope for positivity. You hope that you will be able to overcome anything that comes after that point, you know? So you tend to think that life is linear and it's only up from here. In 2019, I was working a job. I was probably making like $14 an hour, working at a mechanic shop. And my son was born in June. I got laid off in October, November. And of course, I was devastated because I wanted to, I was so angry. I, you know, after the place that I was working at, knowing that I just had a kid and knowing that, you know, life wasn't in the best position, putting me out of work was just crazy to me. Fast forward to January, I get one of the best jobs I've had to date, January of 2020, and I start working at a tire distribution place, and I'm making like $20 an hour, and I'm getting crazy overtime because little do we know, COVID was creeping up. It wasn't. It wasn't addressed until March, I believe. I want to say, but the rumors were going around because I was one of the essential workers driving a truck and all that good stuff. I was able to get unlimited overtime at the job I was working at. I was probably making like 5 grand a month, man. It was probably the best money I'd ever made in my life at that point. And although things were rocky with my relationship with my child's mother at the time, I was kind of hoping that things would come back around. And to me, that was kind of the beginning of the end because after that point, things went downhill. I lost that job a year later because I could not control my emotions. If I had to be real with myself when it came to what was going on in my relationship. And I think I was out of work for like 6 months, got another job, but I was still in the same relationship. And that job had a lot going on. And I was there at that job for probably another year. And then they decided to change the way that they did business. And that didn't really sit right with me, but that was the last job that I actually quit. Now, I want to say that was 2021. On the back end of that, shortly afterwards, the relationship with my child's mother ended. And of course, you're left feeling some type of way. Everybody deals with heartbreak different. I'm not gonna lie, I was kind of kicking and screaming. You know, she wanted to go out there and live her life, have a hot girl summer, whatever you want to call it. I didn't want the relationship to end. So after losing that relationship, I was living with her at the time, so I had to move back with my parents. My son was about 3.5 years old at the time. So don't quote me on the. My numbers might be messed up as far as the years, but anyway, he was about 3.5 years old at the time, and I was out of work at that point for maybe uh, I want to say 6 months, and then I got a job at another mechanic shop, and I was working there for 9 months while my father was suffering through stage 4 cancer, pancreatic cancer, or colon cancer, sorry, colon cancer, and he started to lose his mobility, forgetting things that he was saying, brain function at certain points, and also at the same time, I I skipped one part. I moved back in with my parents. I don't know if I had said that, but maybe I did, maybe I didn't. I moved back in with my parents, so anybody who's an adult that moves back in with their parents, they know it's not the best feeling, especially when you're used to being independent and doing your own thing. A lot of times it just doesn't even make sense. Getting back to where we're at, I'm working at this mechanic shop, and I'm there for maybe 9 months, and me and the manager have exchanged of words, for a lack of better terms, and they decided to let me go off of that job. Also, I was still going through what I was going through on the back end of the relationship. You shouldn't allow your personal feelings to get in the way of your job. In a perfect world, yeah, some people are better than others as far as keeping focused and doing that. So now I'm back at home. I'm not working. My dad's going through his cancer thing, and depression sets in. I'm sitting there trying to figure out what's the next move because the bills are piling up and things are just, in my opinion, getting worse. After a couple of months, I decided to sign up for Uber. I did Uber Eats for, I think I did Uber Eats for like 3 months. And then one day, this is completely my fault, by the way. One day I was delivering some food on the highway. The highway had just opened up, and I got pulled over for doing 102 and a 70. Now, obviously, that sucks. My license ended up being suspended. And for a while, I was just at home taking care of my dad, doing everything for him because it was just me and him here. And that was difficult, man. Watching my dad deteriorate, watching, having to figure out, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, what's going on with him and how he's feeling and trying to keep him in good spirits. At the same time, I had already started my YouTube channel, my first YouTube channel, which I think I was like 2 years in on that channel at that time. And I was streaming, I was making videos, and nothing seemed to stick. It just seemed like no matter what I did, I couldn't get out of the hole. It was a wild experience. So on the back end of that, I get a new job. Probably, I think a year later, I got a new job. It's probably like 23 or 24 at the time. It's like 23. So I'm at that job for a year, and I have a boss at the time who likes to raise his voice a lot, and I tried to address him as a man, explain to him like, hey, look, I don't care what you got to say to me. If you got to fire me, whatever, just don't raise your voice and talk to me like a child. Because to be honest with you, the guy was what, 30, and I'm 35, about to be 36. I don't. You can just talk to me like a normal human being, and we can figure out whatever needs to happen, whether it needs I need to leave or what. So me and that guy one day get into verbal altercation. Of course, that leads for me to be fired from that job. Of course, I try my best to keep the job. I put in appeal and all that good stuff. None of that worked. And what's crazy is the guy ended up leaving and going to a different place. On the back end of that, I want to say like a week later, my dad passes. My dad died probably like a week after I got fired. And of course, I was with him to his last breath, and it was a wild situation. Throughout the years, I mentioned my son because throughout the years, you want to be there and take care of your son or whatever the case might be. But if you're not able to find your footing the way that you need to find your footing in this world, it makes it very difficult to do that. You're there for him when you can, financially and physically, but and then if you and the person that you have the kid with are not seeing eye to eye, then it makes it even more difficult. But neither here nor there. So after my dad passes, the funeral that happens, and I go head first into YouTube and things of that nature because for a long stint of time I wasn't able to find a job again. So I'm uploading every day. I'm live streaming every day. I'm on Twitch. I'm on YouTube. I'm on Facebook Gaming. I'm on Kick. I'm on Instagram. I'm everywhere. TikTok. None of them took off. And it's crazy to think because you think the more effort you put into something, you would see something out of it, but that's not really the case. Now, you know, you could say somebody's video sucked, or maybe they didn't have enough editing, or it wasn't up to par, or people just didn't like it. Possibly, I don't know. But neither here nor there. So I continue doing my live streaming thing, and then I got the last job that I had. This was maybe 3-4 months ago. Now, mind you, I've skipped a lot of time. Like this is, we're here now though. 3-4 months ago, and I was literally at that place for 2 weeks. And during the 2 weeks that I was at that place, I observed them, like looking for more people as they hired me on as a full time employee, and interviewing the people as I was working. And of course, you're hearing everything around the world about the job market's really bad and this, that, and the third. Mind you, this place wasn't nowhere special. I was probably making $12 an hour. It wasn't even nothing to write home about. Those people decided to let me go for I don't know whatever reason they conceived. I'm in North Carolina. That's I forget what they call it. It's not a work first state, or I forget what it's called. It's I don't know. Somebody tell me in the comments if y'all see this. Either way, they let me go. And then I decide to create the channel that I have now that I'm uploading this on, which is Looking for Better Days. And the reason why I called it Looking for Better Days is because I mean you would hope that something positive would have happened by now. But no, not really. So I have a little bit of success with this channel. I have a couple videos that I have a couple thousand views and all that stuff. And it's okay. I would have hoped that things would have been more fruitful by now, especially when the economy makes it seem like there's no other choice. I think a lot of people believe that uh, people want to be influencers and online personalities because they just want to be. And I don't necessarily believe that's true. I think that there are a subset of people that do want to do that. I think that other people do it out of desperation, and I think that other people do it out of like a hobby. It's just something that they want to do or whatever. And there are probably some people that do it out of a mixture of both, like desperation and a hobby. Either way, you take off when you take off, or whatever the case might be. Which leads me to the title of this video: I will never overcome. Because every time that it seems like I find some level of success in something, ever since I say 2020, I'm getting kicked right off the pedestal every time. And it's unfortunate to say, everybody goes through their own things, and I guess, you got to learn how to handle it and how to bounce back and all that good stuff. But I don't know what to make of a lot of things, man. But until it comes back around, man, I'll be looking for better days. That's really all I could say. I don't even know if anybody will see this, but if they do, maybe it'll be better days.